everyone and welcome to the Learning Ladder. Today I thought it'd be fun to do a curriculum planning video for next year. So my daughter is 12 and will be going into 8th grade. So for maths it's really simple. I'm just going to stick with Saxon. We've used Saxon from the beginning. We tried Simply Good and Beautiful. I think it was in 2nd or 3rd grade for like 6 months, but then went straight back to Saxon. It just wasn't for us. Though I do think they are kind of similar in certain respects with the mental math section and the review and things, but my daughter just preferred the straight Saxon rather than all the extras in the good and the beautiful math, which I actually really did like. I liked how it was colourful and everything else, but she asked to go back to Saxon, so that's what we did. Okay, so for language arts, we have used learning language arts through literature for, I think it was from 3rd grade as well. Really do enjoy that curriculum. It is obviously literature based. You get book studies included. You also have a literature passage that you work with when you're looking at grammar and spelling and other things, parts of speech and so on. So we could very likely stick with that. We have done, as I said, for the past few years. The only thing is I don't particularly like the book suggestions this year. However, you can always pick your own books instead. The literature passages are what you work with. The book studies are, extra. So definitely a possibility. The other thing I've looked at is lightning literature, particularly this, I think it's the Storm level, which is supposed to be for 7th to 8th grades. I really like the book selection. It's things like Alice in Wonderland. It's All Creatures Great and Small, lots of different, I think I've just drawn pen all over myself, never mind. Pen appears to be leaking everywhere, always the way. Okay, we switched it, hopefully this one's better. So yes, I really do like the literature suggestions with that one. I've looked at the straight level A course, but level 8 course even, but I just prefer the Storm version. So that again is a possibility. So again, we've got Fix It Grammar, which we have used for the past couple of years from IEW. So this year for spelling we will have finished the final level of Spelling You See, so there's nothing else to go on with that one. We do still have a level 7 of All About Spelling that we could do, so again that's something to consider. However, I do have Spelling Power, and that goes all the way up to 12th grade, and I do want her to be a good speller. I know the spell check and everything else, but I really do think spelling is something that should continue, and that it would take us up to 12. So I could do All About Spelling level 7, or we could do Spelling Power. So again, something to consider. We are going to go back to doing, I think, my vocabulary All the Words book this year. We didn't do it this year. Sorry, did I say this year? Next year. We didn't do it this year. We just did informal vocabulary as part of our morning basket, but sometimes we wouldn't do it. Sometimes we would. Sometimes we just use vocabulary from the curriculums that we were working with, but I don't know, I just like having a dedicated vocabulary book because we'll always do it then. And my All the Words book is great because you can use it with any kind of words, vocabulary words from any different curriculum you're using, because it's all blank templates, and she really did enjoy using that, so I think we're going to go back to that this year. Again, it's an extra spelling practice because obviously vocabulary words can be challenging, or you can make them as challenging as you want, and then being able to spell them as an extra skill. So I think spelling and the vocabulary tie well together. So for writing, we are definitely not doing IEW again this year. When I say this year, I mean the 2025-2026 year. So I either will just do writing myself as part of our Warriors unit. I'm doing a Warriors unit study for her, or I have looked at, what is that spelling program called? Write Sharp. So I think there's a Write Sharp 1 and 2 or something. I'm not sure if that's the right level, but I know the letter ones are for younger ages. So I'm just going to put that on, something for me to look into. But she doesn't have issues with writing. She loves writing. And I just think it's not essential to have an actual curriculum this year for her. So we'll see. I'm going to be doing, as I did with Dragon Academy, specific writing projects throughout the year with Warriors. So, we don't really need a dedicated writing program for creative writing for certain. And then for, other curriculums, I can add additional writing projects in there if they aren't already there. However, Lightning Literature does have some writing in there too, as does Learning Language Arts through Literature. There's been several writing assignments she's had to do throughout the year for learning language arts. So she's just finishing the last one now, which is a report. So if I do an all-in-one, it's already in there anyway. So that's why I'm thinking I don't really need a writing program this year. Okay, so for science, I want to do chemistry and possibly astronomy as well. So in terms of curriculum, we have used Elemental Science this year, and I do really like their program. But we could also use for chemistry a free program that I found on the internet, which is from the Chemistry Society in the US, which looks amazing. I was just Googling away and I found it. Or I've also been looking at Build Your Library, which does have in level 8 history of science, which does include chemistry, also includes physics, and it has some astronomy in there as well. So that is a possibility for science. Okay, we used a different program for history this year. We've always used Story of the World, which we really did enjoy. However, this year I went to a more, I guess you could say, UK-based curriculum that would kind of lead her in up to doing her GCSEs. So basically there was a level, all the levels that would lead her up to doing her GCSE. However, it was so bland to say the least. It just there were some really good elements to it. I'm not going to waffle too much because I'll talk about it in a review that I do of it. There were some really good elements in it that I did like, but it was just so not what we're used to. We love a literature-based approach, and it just did not hit the spot for me. She was fine with it. She said it was fine. She didn't mind. But for me, I just felt it didn't. Because I love history. It's one of my favourite subjects. So if I don't like it, there's definitely something not right. And I could quite easily have fallen asleep half the time reading the passages. It was just written in such a way. It just was not good. However, there were some great skills in it, which I will mention when I do a review of it. And I did appreciate that. However, I don't want to use it again this year. So what options do we have? So we could do Curiosity Chronicles, which I've never used before, but I've watched a few reviews on it recently and it looks reasonable. There's certain things that I'm not sure about, and one of the things is the price, because it is quite expensive, in my opinion. And the fact that I've never used it before, it makes me not sure to go ahead and make such a big investment in it. I wish they did, a couple of sample weeks like IEW. I love IEW for the fact that they give you like 6 weeks free for you to try it out and stuff. I wish more curriculum companies would, offer at least 2 or 3 weeks, not just like a sample of, here's midweek what you would do. That's no good to me. I want to be able to do, the passage and everything. I need a whole, what it would be like, a chapter of the book, for example, or even half a chapter of the book with the activities you would do. To me, that's a reasonable sample. Maybe I'm looking in the wrong place, but I didn't see that on their website. I saw little bits here and there, but not like a full, like IEW has. So I'm not sure about that. If it was cheaper, I might consider it, but it's really quite expensive. And I want to know more about it before I would invest that much money into it. And also it's told in the way of 2 people speaking. So in a dialogue, and I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not saying it's bad, but again, I think I need to listen to the audio sample if they have one. I'm assuming they do, to see how it actually sounds. But that's a possibility. The other option is to create my own history. Again, I have done that before. I did it with Journey Through Time or Journal Through Time. And I love that because I can tailor it to how we like it. We like text, we like additional literature books, we like videos and activities. So I can tailor it to things that we like. And yes, I could do that with the history curriculum we had this year, and I did to a certain extent, but when you're using someone else's curriculum, it's only as flexible to a certain degree, whereas if you make it yourself, especially the way I did it, in kind of like a buffet format that you can choose different things depending on what time you had that day, or what the interest level was and things. I really did like that aspect. So if I was to create it myself, I would do it literature based, and it would be world history. The other option I forgot to mention for science, we could use The Good and the Beautiful Science. Now, we are secular, but I have mentioned in the past that I don't have any issues with using religious resources as long as I can tailor it and, admit or discuss whatever elements I feel is appropriate. So they do have a chemistry unit, and the thing that I love about their Good and Beautiful, their units, their science units in particular, is it has everything that we like. So it has an experiment with a lot of the lessons, which we love our experiments, but there's also a video with it. So if you don't want to do the experiment, or you don't have time that day, or the things that you need for it you don't have on hand or whatever, you can watch the video. I really appreciate that. I also like that they have video for certain aspects that aren't just experiments, but just to explain things a bit better. And I really like the vocabulary that they have, because we can use it in our vocabulary wall. And I like the notebook. So if there was a secular Good and Beautiful for science, the way that they do it, I would be so happy. But anyway, you can't have everything, can you? So we could use the chemistry unit from the Good and Beautiful. That's again another possibility. Okay, so back to history. So we've got Curiosity Chronicles consideration, World History consideration. In Build Your Library level 8, it's History of Science. So we could, come at it from that route, or that point. We could potentially do Story of the World again, but I could just add extra bits to make it more challenging for her. Okay, moving on. So for geography, we have used again a different curriculum for geography this year. I have liked certain parts of it, but I haven't completely decided yet. I don't think I want to get it for next year, but it's not as certain as the history one is. So it's called Jog and then 1 or 2 or 3. So this will be Jog 2. So that's a possibility. The other option is again to make my own geography, or to use Build Your Library level 7, because they do World Geography as part of Build Your Library in level 7. So you're probably thinking, well, why would you buy Build Your Library just to use it for 2 subjects? But there are also literature aspects to it. Actually, I'm just going to make another category. Okay, so Build Your Library 7 and 8, there are, it's not just science or history or geography. There's also art with it, an art study. There is also geography if it's level 7. There's also poetry, literature suggestions, and actual exercises to do with them. So that's why I'm really considering it. It's literature based. We love literature based programs. We did Torchlight, I think it was 2nd grade, one of our best literature curriculums that we've used, aside from Guest Hollow, which we used Guest Hollow's language arts, and I absolutely loved that. It was such a great curriculum. Now Guest Hollow does have a geography curriculum and also a chemistry, but it's for high school, and yes, it does say that you could use it for middle school, but I would prefer to use it in high school if we were going to use it. So that's why I haven't looked at Guest Hollow for their high school geography or their chemistry unit in science. Otherwise I would. Okay, so in addition, for art, we have used Brenda Ellis's art this year, which was fantastic. So I might look at a 2nd level of that, or I could look at art from our illustration, which is one of our electives. Go that route, and also Build Your Library does have art study in both level 7 and 8. So for electives, we've got illustration. We've also got graphic design. I'm looking at different curriculums that I've seen for that, or doing like a Skillshare course or a Udemy or something like that. And then I'm going to have my daughter choose the rest of her electives. Foreign language, we're going to continue with French. IT, she'll continue doing typing, coding, and web design. She's actually really good at Scratch, and she comes up with some amazing things. So I think I pretty much covered everything. So nature study will come as part of our Warriors unit. They live in the forest, so it's an obvious topic to go with. Plus we live in Scotland now, and we are surrounded by forests, which makes it so much more fun. There are also beaches mentioned in the Warriors series as well, and again, beaches perfect for us because we're surrounded by them too. So that'll be where our nature study comes into it. And yeah, I think that's everything. If you have any curriculum suggestions for history or geography that you're really enjoying or looking at, let me know. As I said, I'm discounting Guest Hollow's high school geography for this year at least. So that's not really an option. I do have the elementary geography, which we did do some of it, but not all of it, so we could always look at that. I'm going to actually add that as a possibility, because I can always, you know, make it harder. But that's what I'm thinking of for this year. So thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you soon.